I know you have not done. All right, so let's start from networking introduction. Let's understand what is network first, because most of you do not know this. So I ask you to at least come with 1% knowledge, and let's see whether you have that 1% knowledge. Right? So there are how many classes? Can someone tell me how many classes do we have? In network, how many classes we have? No, not 4. It's not 4. Exactly, it is 5. So we have 5 classes, right? So can you give me a 5 classes range? What is a classes range? What is the class A? Where does the class A starts from and where does the class A ends to? Zero dot, to 126 dot 0 dot 0 dot 0. Is it? Is this right? No, it is wrong. 255.255.254. What the way? Fooling your trainer. Is this the right series? Now what is reserved here? Reserved is 169. Sorry. Private. So this is the private range here. So what is reserved? Exactly. Right. And class B is 127 to Can you give me the IP range? Where does the IP ends at class B? Exactly, 127 to 128. Guys, requesting to be on mute. Shiva, be on mute. Okay. 191 exactly. And this is 192 to this is 169, and here 172 is the private. So 192 to 223, correct. 224 to 224 to exactly 239, 242, 254, and here you have 192 series. Right, so this is how a class would look like. There are 5 classes that we have, right? This is class A, right? Mostly used by internet service providers, ISP, right? And if it is private, large enterprises, this is used by large enterprises, right? Again, this is also ISP, right? And then large enterprises or medium enterprises, right? This is again ISP plus home, your IoT devices, home network, right? Smart homes, your washing machines, TVs, they all use this. small and medium business and enterprises. Why are you coughing, buddy? You're okay. Right? Are we clear so far? Right? This is multicasting. And this is for research and development. Are we clear? So there are 5 set of networks that we have, and this is something that is dictated by the network organization, and everybody else in the world has to follow, right? If you have Airtel, Vodafone, all those guys they're large ISPs, so they will use class A, right? Again, if there are private IP addresses that they need to use, they will use this 10 series here. If you're a small or medium businesses, they will use 172. In case of AWS is using 172 for their private network. AWS is using 172 for their private network. Then you have class C. Again, ISPs, and one range they use it for, this has to come here. One range they use it for private home and IoT devices. Then you have multicasting ke liye, and then you finally have research and development, such as Telecom Regulatory Authority of the India, Huawei, anybody else who's from a networking background who wants to do network testing development, they will use this series. Are we clear so far? Yes, 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 no, maybe. Very good. Now what AWS says is, hey, you know what? You don't have to follow anything. You don't have to follow class A, B, C, D, E. This is not applicable to you. So therefore, an introduction of new methodology called classless intra-domain routing. CIDR. So when you say CIDR, classless intra-domain routing means you don't have to follow classes. Following the classes are no longer applicable. So that means you can also use a public range or an ISP range, and you can create a network out of it on AWS. So classless inter-domain routing means you can take multicast or you can take research network range, and you can build your own network out of it. Hence classless inter-domain routing. Now what is VPC? Let's understand that. So VPC is the fully built network. This is the fully built network by AWS. So that means anything that you do is you do it in a simulated world or a virtual world. Any network pieces that you stitch together are virtual. So this means 99% of the time you cannot go wrong. You can never go wrong. Are you with me? 99% of the time you don't go wrong. So with that said, you can create virtual networks such as subnet. You can create virtual router. Right? You can create, hey, what is this here? Who is noise? Shivam, can you put yourself on mute, Shivam? Okay. All right. So you have subnet, you have router, and NAT, internet gateway, peering, what else, etc, 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 right? So these are some of the vital networking components that you need. So what they have done is they have taken a physical network, they have virtualized it, right? And then further virtualization, they have done network function virtualization. So that means this is your physical network. This is your physical network. This is software defined networking, SDN. And this is network function virtualization. So that means you do not have expose or have access to the physical network, neither you have access to the virtual network. The only thing that you have is you can do network function virtualization. That means the networks that you have, they have taken each function, such as virtual router is one function, internet gateway is one function, right? NAT is one function, and they have further virtualized it. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You can pick it up and you can connect, disconnect, and you can build a network out of it. Are you with me? Are you with me so far? When VPN, when VPL will set. Good that you reminded me. VPN is also network function here. It is also here only. VPN is also here. It is also network function virtualization. Right? So this is an overview at a very high level. How does a network look like? Right? Now we need to prepare our network. So first thing what we do is, any best practices we have to mitigate single point of failure. So you should always build network in redundant too, right? So therefore, I'm gonna build a redundant network here. Or you know what? Okay, right. So this will be my VPC here. This will be my VPC router. First you have to build a router, and your router needs a series, right? So in some of the interviews they emphasize you to know class A, because you're building an enterprise network on AWS. So you'll be using the private series that is available in class A, right? And it will be 10.0.0.0, right? This is the range that we'll be taking. Now the problem with this range is it will give you a lot of IP addresses, right? How much? I don't know. Let's go and check. Just gonna Google it and pick up a calculator here. Cedar math. Okay. Okay. /0. Calculator. So this says it's an invalid CEDAR. If you see here, it is not a valid CEDAR, so it cannot be 0. It has to be minimum. Let's see. 4-bit is also it is not taking, right? Because we have 64-bit network, so minimum is 8-bit. So we have to at least take 8 bits. Anything less than 8-bit, it will tell you it is invalid. So I've said I want to take an 8-bit network here, because I've given /8. These many IP addresses it is giving me, right? How many I have? Unit, tens, 100, 1000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh crore. Over 16 crore IP addresses I have. Right? And the range, if you see here, the range starts from here and it ends over here. Are you with me so far? And this is a lot of IP addresses for me to handle. I don't think I would be able to handle these many IP addresses, right? At least in this class. So I want to shrink this down. I want to bring the count down. How do I bring it down, guys? How do I bring the IP address down? Yes, Joel, good. How? Give me a math. Give me a math quickly. Okay, it's not answering. Fair enough. So let me show you the calculation here. All you have to do is change the bit value here, right? So we have 8-bit. So therefore, this is 8-bit. This is 8 again. Therefore, it is 16. 8 again 24, and 8 again 32. So that means the higher the bit value, the lower the number gets, because you divide those numbers with the bit value here. For example, if I divide this by, let's say, 9, it becomes half. See, it has become 8 now. Right? Now if I divide this by 10, it will again become further half. And now it is 4. Right? So like this, I can keep dividing it, right? For example, let's say 16. 65,000. Again, it is a lot of IP addresses. Let me divide this by 18. 16,000 IP addresses, again too much. 19. So there you go. The higher the value gets, the lower the IP address becomes. So what if I make this 32? Because that is the last bit value that you can give in the IPv4 network. When I calculate this, the only I have is one IP address here. Right? So therefore, let's take a step back here. Right? If I say 30, I have 4 IP addresses. Right? So likewise, for example, 24 bits, you have 256 IP addresses, right? So the lower the value gets, the higher the IP becomes. For example, if I do 20 here, 4,000 IP addresses, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 19 as a bit value here, so that 18,000 IP address is pretty manageable. 8,000 IP address is pretty manageable. So therefore, I'm going to label my network as, please could you share the link for the calculator, increase the bit value. There you go, buddy. Right? So it is /19 here. Now my router value is /19. So this represents 8,000 IP addresses. It'll give me 8,000 IP addresses. Now what I need to do is I need to take this 8,000 IP addresses and I have to divide into 4 subnets. This will be my subnet 1. Subnet 1. Subnet 2. Subnet 3. And then subnet 4. I have 4 subnets available. Now I need to divide this 8,000 IP addresses by 4 subnets. Why am I doing this? What is the thought process behind that? Is it any logic that I'm making randomly? I'm taking 8,000 IP addresses and I'm splitting into 4. Why am I doing this? Let's discuss that also. Now, first thing is you need to understand what is your customer's workload, how many instances that they're running, what application services that they're running, right? How many devices that they have. Right, I'm working with a startup. Let's say they have over 500 computers, 500 servers that they're running, right? So that means I only need 500 IP addresses. So 500 IP addresses, me 250 I can put here, 250 I can put here. But why am I taking 8,000? Because of future growth, because of different workloads. You will have workloads in DevOps and UAT staging for which you need to isolate them through a subnet. You will have application that will be on public environment, right? For example, I will make this private, right? Let me show you how to build a hybrid network here. I'm going to build this public. Right? So you need to always have a buffer so that over a period of time, the 5,000 servers can become 5,000. And you need to plan this capacity. The challenge with AWS VPC is once you set this, you cannot change, you cannot increase, or you cannot decrease. There are limitations to that, right? What are those limitations? Let's also explore that quickly. AWS VPC limits. Let me also, if you see here, maximum 5 VPCs allowed per region, right? Subnet per VPC 200. CEDAR blocks, that means you can have not more than 5 CEDAR blocks. IPv6, you can have 1. These are the limitations that you have, and you have to work with these limitations, right? Elastic IP address per region is 5. right? How many gateways you can create. For everything, there's a limitation that you have. So you need to do diligently design your network, and you have to use your network here. So let me put this here quickly. So with that said, let's go back to our class here. Now there are 4 subnets that we have, and I need to divide this 8,000 IP addresses. I need to divide my 8,000 IP addresses into 4 chunks, right? Now if I go back and if I see my first chunk here, my first block, right, it is starting from 10.0.0.0 and it ends at 10.0.31.255. 31.255. 10.0.0.0 and then 10.0.31.255. You're getting my point? So this is the IP range that you have. You got my point? Now let us divide this. If I divide this by 20, it is giving me 4,000. So let me divide by 21. Okay, 2000 IP address. That means it is taking the first block of the range 10.0.0.0 and the second block is 10.0.7.255. 10.0.0.0 10.0.7.255. Right now, after 7.255, there is no 7.256 to 257, right? The value will change from 7 to 8 here. So the second value I will add 8 here, because after this 7 the range will stop, so I have to take the next range, which is 8. I'll calculate with 8. Now 10.0.8.0, 10.0.15.255. I'm getting another 2000 IP address. So 10.0.8.0, 10.0.15.255. So likewise 10.0.16.0, 23.255. I am sure it is 23.255, but let's do the calculation. After 15 it is 16 here. 23.255, right? Correct. Now if I say 24, 24. If you see 31.255, and this 31.255 is matching with the 31.255 here. That means I have properly proportionately calculated into 4 blocks, and I'm not exceeding the blocks in my calculation here, right? So 24.0, 10.0. 24.0, 10.0.31.255. So I have proportionately taken that 8,000 IP addresses and I have divided into 4 chunks right now, right? So this is our frame. The whole frame is ready. We have got our VPC, which is our virtual router. We got our 4 subnets, 2 subnets supposed to be public and 2 subnets supposed to be private. And by default, what AWS does is it will create a local route. So there's a local route it will create by default. That means this subnet can talk to this can talk to this can talk to this can talk to this can talk to this, and this can talk to this, because there's a local route it is created in between, right? So let's go and create this, and then I'll come back and update my design as and when I progress with my lab. To create a virtual network, we'll go to services here and we'll go to VPC. right? Now there are multiple ways that you can create. You can just say that launch a VPC visit here. So what it will do is it will create an automated way of creating it. It will create an automated network, and there's no fun there, right? Then there's no point of this training, because you can click those buttons and you can have your network running there, right? But instead I will teach you how do you design and build your own network manually. Go to your VPC and do not touch. This is a default VPC that you have, and it is starting from class B 17172. We discussed this in class B. AWS is using class B to create their network, so nobody will delete or touch this. Create a network here. I'm going to call my network as small startup, and I have to define my router here. I'm creating a virtual router, so the router address will be this 10.0.0.0/19, and if I do this, Amazon will understand I'm requesting 8,000 IP addresses. So 10.0.0.0/19, right? And there are two tenancies that are available. Dedicated means they'll give you dedicated switch in the background. Default means they'll give you a default switch in the background, which is a shared switch. Click on create. Now if you see here, virtual network is created. Now if I go back to my subnet here, these are the default subnet that is created by AWS. Because I'm doing this lab in Mumbai, there are 2 regions and therefore there are 2 subnets. If you do this in Virginia, you will have 6. You got my point? And if you see here, they have done the calculation /20, where each subnet they have given 4,000 IP addresses. So that means overall you can launch 8,000 machines with the default subnet, default VPC itself. But the challenge here is if you go and check the EC2 limit, you hardly have 20 instances there. What a waste. Though you have 8,000 instances possibility that you can create, you can only allowed to create 20 instances. Anyways, let's continue further. Right, so I'm going to call this subnet 1. If you go back to sheet, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm creating a subnet 1 here, and I'm going to say subnet 1, and I'm going to select the VPC that I have, the small startup that I have created. And where do I want to create? I want to do this in my first availability zone, and I'm going to give my range here. So it is 10.0.0.0/21. Create. And if you see here, they have given me 2,000 IP addresses, but the IP addresses are less. There are 5 IPs that are missing from my subnet. Can someone tell me why? Why am I missing 5 subnets from the IP? Can someone tell me why? Where did my 5 IP addresses go? Because they are reserved. These are all the private IP addresses that are locked, and these are the IP addresses that are reserved. First one is for network address, reserved for AWS VPC router. Third is reserved for this DNS. Fourth is reserved for future, and fifth is reserved for broadcasting, but this is disabled. This is the examination question, and they'll ask you in the interview also. Make sure that you read this document thoroughly and prepare yourself. Best, hey buddy, you're a new one. Can I help you with anything? Okay, let's continue then, right? That is why 5 IP addresses are missing. So let's go back and get a couple of more subnets. In fact, 3 more. Create subnet and subnet 2. This is in my second availability zone. We have discussed this. This is my AZA availability zone A, and this is my availability zone B. Right, so I'm creating this now. Okay, B, subnet 3, this has been my first availability zone again, and I'm creating this 10.0.16.0 10.0.0/21 and last subnet 4. And that will be this one here, 24. Ten dot 0.24.0/21, and this will give me the last range. Okay, so if you see here, I've created 4 subnets, right? Now, if I go and peep into each subnet here, and if I see the route here, you see there's a local route that is talking to my router /19. And if you see here, again 19 again, right? That means every time you create any subnets, by default there's a local route that is assigned to the router here. So that means all 4 subnets can hop in or talk to each other. Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Are you able to follow me? Yes, 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 no, maybe. Nice. Where did this guy go? Where did Saddam go? Can someone message Saddam? Can you ask Saddam to join? Okay, so now what I want to do is, these 2 networks are private, right? But you want to expose this to public. These 2 networks you want to expose to public, right? So what you want to do is you want to attach IGW. You want to give internet gateway and you want to expose this to the internet, so that all the public traffic you can send to this particular network, so that you can have customer facing application such as e-commerce, email, right? All that you can deploy this here. So how do you add this? Now to do this, we'll go back to the route table here, and this is a default route table. This is, I'll say, private route. This is the private route. I'm not gonna touch this, right? This is the default route table, so I'm not gonna touch this. I'm gonna create a new route table, right? I will say public. I'll say public, and I'm selecting my VPC here and I'm creating it. So there's a public route that I have created here. So what I will do is one end of the route table I'll associate with my subnets. Edit subnet association, and then according to the Excel sheet here, subnet 3 and 4 supposed to be in public. So therefore my subnet 3 and 4 will be in public. Right, I've added these two subnets here. Now the other end I have to connect to IGW. So let's go and create internet gateway. Internet gateway, create gateway. I'm gonna call this public, and then you create it. Attached to VPC. Okay, now if you go back to route table and select the public route here, one end is connected to subnets. Where did it go? Didn't I save it? Edit subnets. The following subnets have not been explicitly mentioned. Where did it go? Subnet 3 and 4, save. Okay, they are here. And then I'll go to route table, edit route, add a route, and internet gateway. I have my internet gateway here, 0.0.0.0.0, and then save route. Excuse me, /0. Now save the route. Right, so I've saved the route. Now if I go back and check in subnet, if I click on my subnet 3, and if I go to route, there are two routes. There's one local route that is available. There's a route to internet. Right, when I do subnet 4, there's a local route and there's a route to internet. But if you see, my subnet 2 has only a local route, and my subnet 1 also has a local route. So that means by default, when you create any subnets, you'll always be private. You have to do explicitly mention that you want to make it public. Right? Now, occasionally what happens is you would need access on any of the subnets here. Occasionally you need access to any of the subnet as a one-way internet. You don't want to send anything out. You don't want to publish or move any content that you have in your subnet 1 and 2 to go out. But to download updates, you need to have a NAT gateway so that the internet can come in, nothing can go out. So to add that, I'll create a NAT gateway here. So let me do one thing. Let me add a NAT here. I'm adding a NAT where I'm creating a hop. So that means this subnet can talk to this. This subnet through this local gateway can also talk to this to receive internet. That is what I'm trying to achieve here. So I'm adding a NAT here. To do that, let me copy the fourth subnet, subnet 4, and I'll copy this. Create a NAT. Select your subnet 4, create an elastic IP, and then you create a NAT, edit the route table, right? And then you will select your private route table, go to route, edit, add a route, and then you will select NAT gateway here. and the traffic is 0.0.0.0/0, and you add a private route and subnet association, edit, you will select 1 and 2 and you will save it. That's it. Now if you go back and check in subnets, your subnet 1 will now have local route plus route to NAT gateway, and your subnet 2 will also have local route and NAT gateway. But however, if you see your subnet 4, it has local route and IGW, and then subnet 3 local route and IGW. Right? Are we clear so far? Yes, Nobi. Bless, you haven't answered me who you are and why you are in this class. Are you here for a demo? Are you here to attend the class? Who referred you for this? Can you at least reply, why are you hijacking my class? Sorry for what, buddy? It's okay. Tell me who you are, why you have joined. Are you expecting anything? You see, your demo was at 8 o'clock, buddy. But don't worry, you can enjoy the class, right? Since you've already joined, you're halfway there, right? I want you to sit back, relax, enjoy the lecture. By the way, who referred you for the demo? With whose reference have you joined? Okay, fair enough. Right. So my subnet is evolving right now. I've created IGW here. I've given NAT here. Okay. Right. So I've connected NAT gateway here. IGW is here. Right. So what I want to do is now I want to test whether my hybrid network is ready. Right. My both public private network is ready is what I need to explore this. Right. So what I will do is I will create a Linux machine here. And then I will create Windows machine here. Remember, I'm creating this on my private side of the network. And on my subnet 3, I will create VPN so that I can tunnel this through a public network first, and then I can access my private network. So usually, where do you install your antivirus? You'll install on the devices that are facing to the internet, right? Where do you install your firewall, right? On the public side of your network. So likewise, when you're installing or configuring VPN, it has to be on the public facing network. You cannot put a VPN on a private network. If you put a VPN on your private network, then you cannot get connected. So it always has to be on a private network side. Now let's go and build a VPN. Now to create a VPN, right, there are challenges that we have. You can see you can create site-to-site VPN, you can create customer gateway, you can create VPN transit and other things. So the challenge with VPC VPN is you need to have an hardware VPN switch sitting with you at your home in order to do the VPN tunneling, right? So I do not have an hardware switch, and I'm pretty sure wherever that you guys are, you might also not having a hardware switch there. So how do you remediate or how do you solve this problem? Instead of using a native capability that AWS has, we can always use a virtual VPN switch. So for this lab, I will be using a virtual VPN switch. I'll go to EC2 and then I'll click on launch instance.
Adnan, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Right. So while the VPN server is
Yes.
setting up right now, let's go and create two more servers here, right? In the same way that we created one Linux machine on the private subnet and one on the public, one on the another private subnet, right? The same procedure that we will follow. Again, launch instance, um, Linux machine. I will select this T2 micro. Again, I will select the network that I have created. And this time I will select this on subnet 1 and you want to disable this, add storage 10 GB, add a tag Linux, and I'm gonna say Linux none HTTP right. So one Linux I have done. Let's also do one Windows machine. Windows Server 2016. Again, I'm selecting my subnet here, and this time I will put this in availability zone 2 on the second subnet, and the public IP address disable. Add storage, 30 GB is fine. Let me call this Windows. Windows review, and then you launch it. So what I've done is I've launched 3 machines, and if you see here, one machine is running on subnet 2, one machine is running on subnet 1, and one is your VPN server that you're running. And the best part about your VPN server is there's an IP address that is already associated to it, right? But this is a DHCP IP address. If you want, you can associate an Elastic IP address also, right? And if you see the private IP, it is using 10.0.22.14. 10.0.22.14, and going back to the Excel sheet, 10.0.22.14 comes under 23 range here. So this is running on subnet 3. So likewise, if you go back and investigate your Linux machine, there is no public IP address, therefore it is in private environment. And if you see, it is using 10.0.1.21, right? 1.21 comes after 0.0. So this is running on your subnet 1. So likewise, if you go and investigate your Windows machine, you're running on 10.0.14.113, right? So 14 comes before 15 here. So this is running on your subnet 2. So that means we have deployed 2 machines here and 1 server here. Now let's go and configure VPN first, and then I will tunnel into the VPN to access this environment, and I will show you real-time scenarios also. So let me copy this quickly. Putty auth SSH so let me increase the font size. All right. So I have read the document already, and I have done this configurations previously. So I know the credentials, but in case if you want to find credentials, you can go to OpenVPN website for AWS image, and you can find the details there. So the username is OpenVPN. AS stands for access server. It says please enter yes to indicate your agreement. Yes, you accept the licensing terms. It says press enter for default. It is asking that should I use this private IP? Should I use this private IP to connect with the server? Yes. Right. So admin UI, do you want to enable the admin UI? Yes. Right. TCP port for VPN tunnel daemon 443? Yes. Right. Should client traffic be routed to default through? Yes. 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 Right. And if you see here, it has created a default user, but I do not have a password because it says login as this with the same password used to authenticate this Unix machine. So I did not use a password to authenticate this Unix machine. I used the key pair, right? So let me reset this password. So to reset the password, sudo passwd open VPN. Password is OpenVPN. OpenVPN. Password has updated successfully, right? So now the server is configured. There are 2 web URLs it is asking me to log in. Advanced. OpenVPN I agree. And it has taken me to the backend of the server, right? Since it's a virtual router, you can access this router page. You can go to licensing, current users, how many users you have. You can see that here, right? VPN settings, network settings. It is showing the Ethernet on which it is running, user permission. OpenVPN is there, you can add another user. I will not make him administrator, allow user to auto login. Save settings. Update running server. So our guest is also a now user, he can also log in, right? Something like this. The couple of privilege identity access, privilege access management you have, web services you have, advanced VPN you have. Right? So whatever configuration you want, you can do this configuration here. So there's another link that it is asking me to log in. Let me copy this also. Hit enter. Again, open VPN. Right? And instead of login, I want to connect this time. Go. Now, if you see it is basically loading, so what will happen is it usually has to download a Windows agent for you, Windows or Android phone agents or anything. But I think it has already detected that I have already installed OpenVPN here. Right? There's a client that I have already installed. And that client is right here. Connect. Right? And to connect this client, all I have to do is copy the public IP, paste it here, and then click on connect. Open VPN, and click on connect. Yes. Yes again. And if you see OpenVPN server is connected, if you see the message on my status bar, it says this is connected. Now let's test this quickly. Now I'm going to test this with Windows machine. If it is ready, get Windows password, choose. Right. So I have a password right now. I'm logging in with a private IP. I'm not using a public IP to tunnel into this machine. I'm using a private IP. So I'm using 10.0.14.133. Right. And then ADMINISTRATOR. Connect. Connect again. Password. Yes. So with just a private IP address, I'm able to take an RDP. Now let me show you a live example what will happen. So we'll probably give it a minute or two for the desktop to settle down. Right, so I'll minimize the screen. So I'm making a small screen. Now see what happens here. I'll right click, I will disconnect the session. So if you see the session is lost, I'm no longer in VPN. And if you see my VPN, I am no longer connected. So let me connect to VPN again. Right? Connect. I'm connecting back to the server now. So I'm connected. I should be automatically logging in back to the Windows machine. See, I did not do anything. That means my VPN is actually working. When I'm connected to the VPN, I can access the private side of the environment such as Windows desktop. But when I'm dropping out of VPN, I have lost the connection, right? So my desktop has come back again. So let's do another example with Linux also here. Right, so ec2-user. Right, I'll just run top command just to see. So the graph is running right now, right? Now if I disconnect from VPN, I will lose connection to this machine. Disconnect. See, network error, software cause problem. I am now disconnected from this machine. It is not working and the session is inactive. But if I re-establish the connection back, my Linux machine will work. Connect. It is connected now. Right click and restart session. There you go. My private side of the environment I'm able to access. Are we clear so far? Is it making sense? Are you guys following lecture? What VPN steps should I repeat, Mahesh? Every time I ask him question, he disappears. Okay. Right now, the problem that I have is mostly in organizations, what happens, nobody will keep the IP address. Nobody will use the IP address. They like to use a domain name. So let's give a domain name to my VPN network. So I'm going to copy the IP address here. Go to the services. I'll go to Route 53. Hosted zone. And then I have adnan.team that I have created last time. All I have to do is create a record and I will give remote, or I'll say VPN, and I'll put my IP address here and then create. That's it. Now, instead of giving a name, all I have to do is disconnect this. Click on connect again. You just remove this and type VPN. And then you click on connect. And if you see the domain name, it will now point to my domain name, not to the IP address. And click on connect. Yes. And there you go. I am connected back in. So you can not only mask the IP address and point it to a domain name, right? You can also put this behind a load balancer and you can put two VPN servers. So you can have active, passive in a case, and you can connect to the load balancer. And through the load balancer, you can authenticate and you can sign in. Any questions, boys, so far with the class? Okay, what questions you have? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mahesh. Please show the step of VPN. Okay, how do you want to create a VPN server? Go to EC2 instance. Click on launch instance here. Go to marketplace. Search for VPN. So the list of VPN servers that are available. I chose OpenVPN because it is free and I've worked with this. Continue. Select T2 micro. Continue, and you select your subnet here, and you have to select the public subnet, either 3 or either 4, right? You can select 3 or 4 because both are connected to the public here. So 4, and then public IP address enabled. Add storage 10 GB. You tag it. Open VPN. Configure security group. It has pre-created the security for you, right? And then you click on review and launch. That's it. It will launch your VPN server. Is it clear, Mahesh? Hey, what is wrong with him, man? It says frustrating at office. Hey, nobody. I want you guys, all of you, to download the resume. Please open the resume in your computer that I've sent you. Okay, so the first thing what you need to do is right? Let's also do some resume preparation session because I'm getting inquiries that, sir, I want job, I have to attend, and people are getting desperated, right? So parallelly, we will also continue with the resume preparation session, right? Hopefully you guys will be showing interest here, right? None of you have shown interest on assignment, but please show interest on resume preparation at least, right? I do not want to hurry up at the end of the class. I want to make sure that I want to keep this resume preparation during the class itself. So did you guys get a copy of this? Can you please send it to me? I don't have access to that location. Please could you share? It is in your WhatsApp. I have shared you in your WhatsApp. It is in your WhatsApp, guys. It's in the WhatsApp here. Okay, so the first thing that you see here is you see your name and your phone number. Why is this step is important, and why do we have to include our phone number in your resume? It is very obvious, guys. Your faith is decided by a fresher, or your faith is decided by a person who has 0 to 2 years of experience. What is it? Why am I telling you this? How is it relevant to you? How does a phone number and putting a name there would change your faith? Let's understand that first. Now what happens is, every time when you send a resume to any company, or if you put your resume on the internet for a job, right? Who is going to download your resume? It is not an architect. It is not an architect who's going to download your resume and see what is it. It is HR executive. HR executive do not have any technical knowledge. They do not know what is head and tails. They're absolutely zero, right? So what HR executive does is she or he will download a lot of resumes on the internet, and they don't have time to go through. So what she will do is she will do Control F, and she will type the keyword and she will search, right? And based on maximum keywords, right? Because she will have a copy of job description which is prepared and given to her by her architect, because architect does not have a bandwidth to screen hundreds of resumes. So what they will do is they'll keep screening, they keep screening resumes. You're getting my point? And then she'll keep doing Control F and go back to job description, Control F, copy there, Control F here. If maximum keywords are matching, then she thinks you deserve this job, you qualify for this job, and only then the resume will go to to the architect for an interview. If she thinks that maximum keywords are not matching, then you're not fit for the job and your job is discarded. However, if you give this resume to a qualified person, a person can look at your CV and say, hey, I can understand what work you have done, and perhaps this is what we need from you. But because HR executives are dumb and they do not understand this, there are possibilities that your resume might slip. So instead, if you put your phone number and your name here, now what he or she will do is they're so lethargic that they don't want to even open your resume. They will see your name and number right there even without opening your resume. The file, without even opening resume, they will see the file and they will call you. And instead of doing Control F, they will ask you on the phone, do you know AWS? Have you done DevOps work? What projects have you worked on? What tools and services have you learned? And for everything you have to say yes, 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 and yes, yes, yes. And that Control F job, what she does offline is now she's doing on a phone. She'll read out the description to check with you, are you a right fit or not, without opening your resume. And then the resume will go. So we have experienced that you have a likelihood of getting more calls versus someone who is not putting his number on the name while saving it. So make sure that you put your name and number here so that you have more chances of getting call. Now there is a negative side also for this. You're getting a phone call, great, but sometimes you get phone calls that are not relevant to you or not relevant to your job also. That is another problem that you have to deal with it. If you want a job, this is something that you have to try, right? So with that said, your name and your phone number has to come here. Now the second thing, while preparing your resume, make sure that you put your company address that you're currently working. If you're not working, put your last company name and address here. Why is this important? Why is a big deal? What happens once you're done with your entire interview? They will come back and say, hey, you work with an XYZ company and we have a contract, we cannot hire you for 2 years. One example. Or second example is they can see and say, okay, hey, you work in Bangalore and you're applying for a job in Pune, right? So would you be willing to relocate? That is something that they will first ask even before taking your interview. A lot of times what happens, you clear interview, do everything, and then say the job is not the place that you desire, the job is somewhere else. Happens, right? A lot of time happens. Most of you undergo through this. It's a very common thing that happens, right? You look for a job and then everything is done and something else happen, you really get pissed off. So make sure you put your company address there so that if you have to relocate, let the HR know you that you have to relocate. We have position in the city where you have not applied for, right? There's a relocation. Are you willing to do and can we conduct your interview? Or they can come back and say, hey, this is a partner and we have a contract, we cannot hire you. Right. So after all that, it will help you out. So make sure that you put your company address, full address and company name here, and you put your name in the center. A lot of times what happens, HR will talk to you and say, hey, what is your name? It'll piss me off. They have seen my resume, who you are, what's your name. It's piss me off, right? Make sure that you put your name in the bold in the center there so that they can read the name. They can find your name. Don't put it in some corner somewhere there so that they cannot see the name. The name has to come in the center so that they can call you with your name. Third thing is put your phone number, and this number should be attached to your WhatsApp. A lot of time what happens, you have a personal WhatsApp and you have a professional number on which you don't have a WhatsApp. Please don't do like that. Put the number that has a WhatsApp. I have seen a lot of times HR prefer sending your WhatsApp message versus calling you. Put your number that has a WhatsApp. And put your email ID that you regularly check. Right? So this information has to be cleanly visible here. Now career highlight. Now career highlight solves 3 problems in your resume. First is it's a cover letter for you. It'll talk about overall summary in last 10 years, 15 years, what accomplishments that you have done. You have to explain this at the high level. Don't explain your technical project details. I have worked on AWS. I have done this. I have configured and installed VPC, VPN. No nonsense here. At the high level, you have to describe about I'm a champion. I'm an award-winning star. I have accomplished so many things. I have bought projects. I have done this. I have done that. I have built Taj Mahal. All has to come here. In 15 years, what experience you have. In 5 years, what work you have done. Any game-changing role that you have done. What value contributions you have done. What reward and recognitions that you have achieved. All that has to come here. This is your cover letter. Right? This section is your cover letter. And this section will also act like your reply to job description. Any job that you apply, you see the job description, right? You go to the job description, you read the job description, and then you reply for a job, right? So what you need to do is you need to read the job description and you need to capture the answer here. In the job description, they say we're looking for a candidate who has experience in designing architecture and implementing it, right? Then you have to reply the answer stating that I have delivered 2 projects where I've designed and implemented it. Something like that, right? So any job description that you have, you read it through and write the answers here. Write an opposite answer to here, right? I'll give you an example, right? So what Mahesh, right? Our Mahesh, he was hungry, so he went to a restaurant. In Netherlands, he went to a restaurant and he happened to go and visit an Indian restaurant, right? And Mahesh, he was very hungry and he said, sir, I would like to eat masala dosa. So that waiter said, okay, waiter took the order and said, okay, fine, I'll go and get one. And this guy Mahesh is patiently waiting. He drank 1 glass of water. He's still patiently waiting. And that waiter will come back and say, come back and give him idli vada. And Mahesh will politely say, no, sir, there should be some misunderstanding. I ordered masala dosa, not idli vada, right? So the waiter will go back and then he will take the idli vada also along with him. After some time, he will come back and he will present puri. Now Mahesh is pissed off. He'll say, hey, don't you understand? I'm asking for masala dosa and you're bringing me puri. Right? Now, why am I telling Mahesh's story here? It was Mahesh's personal experience. Why am I revealing all this in the training here? Right? Now think Mahesh is an HR. Right? And Mahesh is looking for AWS and DevOps professional. Right? And now he wants masala dosa. And your resume says something else, some ETL work, some database work, some nonsense you have done, some VMware work you have done. and you're bringing in idli vada in front of him, he doesn't want to eat. You're bringing him puri in front of him, he doesn't want to eat. He wants masala dosa, he wants masala dosa, right? So that means you will only show what HR wants to see, and you will only say what HR wants to listen. So that means your job description will be captured in your career highlight in a way that you will only show what a job description is looking for, right? Nothing else. Anything else, any other nonsense that you put there, your resume will not be filtered. Remember that. And I really get pissed off when you have one resume applying for 50 jobs. It is not gonna work. It's not gonna work that way. You cannot apply 50 jobs with one resume. For 50 jobs, you have to make 50 resumes. I'm telling you again, repeating it again. For 50 jobs, you make 50 resumes, period. You cannot have one resume sending to 50 people. When Mahesh said he want masala dosa, but masala dosa, nothing else, HRs are very choosy. What they have written in the job description is what they're looking for. If you think he will spend some time going through your resume, he will show some courtesy, call you for the interview, he does not have all that time. If your resume is not filtering, is going to the next one. Hundreds of people are waiting for job. So this is your cover letter, your career highlight, and this is where you will reply for the job description. Any job description that you get, read it through and come and rewrite it here. Every time you have to write your cover letter. Every time you have to rewrite your career highlight. And career highlight is the only section that you periodically change. Are you guys with me? What the Mahesh, day by day you're becoming choosier, right? So you will only say what HR wants to see, and you will only say what HR wants to listen. So this is the only section that you periodically change. Now coming down here, your experience summary, right? So you have to write what was your last job or the current job. You have to write your last job or the current job, write the organization name, ABC company. Got my point? And then your designation in the organization. What happens in your previous organization? They have hired you as an L3 engineer, but you're working as a technical consultant there. Right? You're hired as a technical consultant, but you're working as a project manager. It's a very common phenomenon in service industry. They'll hire you for something and they'll ask you to do something else. What is that something else is doing is what you have to put there. If in your project you are a CEO, then you put your CEO there. Right? It does not matter what it says in your letter, offer letter or relieving letter. Right? What designation they positioned you in the project is what you will put there. And then from start date and end date you will put. And then write a simple summary on what due diligent work you have done. And then you remove these key responsibilities off. You delete these key responsibilities. This is not for you. And if you go back here, I have written some points for you. If you read these points, so far whatever that we have covered in the training, I have captured these keywords for you. Now using these 3 lines of keywords, you have to write a 10-line project summary. Right? How will you write project summary? It is pretty simple. If you come down here, I have written it for you. Right? For example, if you see here, I have already written for you. Right? Frontline consulting and overall project discussion, right? And then how did you do pre-sales engagement? Right? Produce high-level, low-level diagrams, use cloud formation. Right? What is it interesting is you need to see the keywords here. I have captured cloud formation here. There's VPC captured here. Load balancer is captured here. Route 53 is captured here. EC2 is captured here. LAMP stack is captured here. RDS is captured here. Right? Identity and access management, IAM, is captured here. Glacier is captured here. Right? SNS is captured here. S3 is captured here. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you read the sample paragraph that I have given you, when you read it, you will feel it's very natural project progress that I have captured here. But indirectly, I've captured all the possible keywords in the message. And these keywords are not looking very obvious. None of the keywords are looking very obvious for you. Do you see any of the keywords that are looking very obvious? No. It is naturally stitched into the conversation that I have captured. right? So likewise, another sample paragraph that I have for you, and if you read this paragraph also, you will find all those keywords I have due diligently I have captured it, right? So what I'm asking you is, if you guys copy this as it is, this is already a spam content, right? You know how spam works, right? So if you keep receiving an email, if you keep sending an email to hundreds of people, and if hundreds of people are keep receiving the same content, Google will think it is spam, it will put into spam box. So likewise, if you copied your resume from your friend, and your friend has copied a resume from his friend, and his friend has copied a resume from his friend, and his friend has copied a resume from his friend, and his friend has copied a resume from LinkedIn, and that LinkedIn guy copied from some website, and some website guy has copied from somewhere else. That means Google can see this, that the redundant contents are already exist on the internet on thousands of pages, right? So this will be marked as spam. If your resume goes on Monster or Google.com, right? Sorry, Monster or Naukri.com or any other job site, right? If your friend is also posting his resume there, the job site can see that this is identical content on 5 resumes, so they will mark your resume spam. So even after uploading your resume, you will not get interview calls. Sir, I am not getting interview calls, sir. Everything I have done correctly, sir. Nobody is calling me. Obviously, boss, because your resume is spam na. So none of you will share your resume content with anyone. You will only share it with me for review. Do not share with your friends, and do not share this in the group. If your friend copies your write-up, then you have to rewrite the whole thing again. It will become spam. So your resume should be unique in the world, and you have to put your thoughts and write it. So when you write it, when you put it on Naukri.com or Monster, your resume will come on first page, second page, and third page. It is very obvious here. You go to Google. I go to google.com, right? I'll say iPhone. If I go to google.com, I have iPhone here, right? Now on the bottom, I have page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? How many of you have clicked on page 2 in your life? How many of you have clicked on page 5, page 10, page 20, page 50, page 100? Boss, no need. First and second page will give you results that you're looking for, whether you want to do research on iPhone, or you want to buy a house, or you want to find a issue or a solution for an issue. First and second page with 10 results, 20 results will answer your problem. Right? Nobody goes to page 5 and 10. Like that in Naukri and Monster.com also, if your resume is not on the first or a second page, you guys will not go to third or fourth page. Like you guys did not go on a 5th or 10th page, HR will also not go on 5th or 10th page. So your resume should be on the first page. Now to make sure that your resume is on the first page, I have segregated content in 3 categories. Right? So the category number 3 is DevOps. I have captured DevOps project here. I want 10 lines right up here. Use all these keywords and give me 10 lines. Second thing is migration. You can leave this due. We have not done migrations. After this, you can write. Third thing is, again, deployment project that I have captured here. Deployment project that I have captured here. And this also I need it. So that means this 10 lines and DevOps project 10 lines. 20 lines you have to write and send it to me for a review, and send it to me alone. Don't send it to your friends. Once we review it, we'll put it back into your CV, right? And how to write it, I've made your life simpler by giving you 2 write-ups. Write-up number 1 is here as an example, and write-up number 2 is another example here. So see my English, see my thought process, and rewrite this and use all the keywords that are that I have captured it for you. Are we clear? Guys, can you hear me? All right. All right, so with that said, we will conclude our lecture today. I want you to go back, do your VPC and VPN lab and come back to me and make sure that you can prepare this resume. Can you unmute me? I have not muted you here. Can you unmute yourself? Mahesh. I don't know. Try again unmuting yourself. Okay, you can put your question in the chat. Put your question in the chat. I will answer you there. Please show the Lambda and CloudFront queuing manage. I don't know, buddy, what you're asking. The solution that you're asking, I cannot develop that. I can show you Lambda separately. I can show you CloudFormation separately. But the solution that you're asking, I cannot code and I cannot show it to you because I do not know how to develop this. I do not know how do you call this CloudFront APIs and able to deliver the services. I don't know that. But I can show you Lambda separately and I can show you CloudFront separately. But together solution, I cannot show it to you. Done. Next question, guys. All right then, guys, if you have no questions, then I'll see you in your next one. Thank you for joining, guys. You have a great day then. Bye-bye.